Introduction. Picture this. You're lying awake at night, your mind racing with endless thoughts. What if this happens? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? You replay every conversation, every decision, over and over again, unable to switch off. Sound familiar? Overthinking is like a mental prison, trapping you in a never-ending cycle of doubt, anxiety, and indecision. It steals your peace, clouds your judgment, and makes every challenge feel like an insurmountable obstacle. But what if I told you that you have the power to break free from this trap? What if there was a way to silence the chaos in your mind, regain control over your thoughts, and take decisive, clear action? Imagine a life where your thoughts no longer control you, where you could face challenges with calm confidence, and where peace isn't just a fleeting moment, but your daily reality. In this book, How to Stop Overthinking, we'll dive into life-changing strategies that will help you master your mind and regain the mental clarity you deserve. Whether you're overwhelmed by the smallest decisions or stuck in an endless loop of what-ifs, the tools in this book will empower you to finally break free. Chapter 1. The Hidden Cost of Overthinking, Uncovering the Silent Saboteur. Overthinking may seem harmless at first, but it has a far greater impact than most people realize. It doesn't just drain your energy, it eats away at your confidence, clouds your decision-making ability, and steals your mental peace. The worst part? Most of us don't recognize how much overthinking is costing us until it's already taken a toll on our lives. When we overthink, we're essentially replaying the same thoughts over and over again. We revisit past conversations, worrying about what was said or how we could have said something differently. Or we constantly imagine future scenarios, sometimes the worst ones, like how something might go wrong or how we might fail. This constant mental activity can feel like being stuck on a hamster wheel. Your thoughts keep circling, but you're getting nowhere. The cost of overthinking is high. It leads to increased stress and anxiety because your mind is constantly working overtime. It also feeds self-doubt, making you question yourself and your decisions. Over time, it erodes your self-esteem, and even simple choices become overwhelming. Things that should be easy, like making a decision or taking action, can start to feel impossible. As overthinking takes hold, it begins to influence how you see the world and your ability to handle challenges. You may become paralyzed by indecision, unable to move forward or make progress. You begin to second-guess everything, from personal choices to professional decisions. This constant hesitation and self-questioning leave you feeling stuck, frustrated, and defeated. The key to breaking free from overthinking is to recognize these hidden costs. You have to become aware of how often overthinking is taking up mental space in your life and how much it's affecting your well-being. By realizing the negative impact it has, you can make a choice. Do you want to continue letting overthinking control your mind, or are you ready to take back your peace and mental clarity? The moment you understand how overthinking affects your life, you unlock the power to stop it. Awareness gives you the ability to choose different thoughts, to let go of those mental loops, and to create space for clarity. It's not about eliminating every thought, but about taking back control and deciding which thoughts deserve your attention. Every time you choose to stop overthinking, you build new habits that support your mental peace and well-being. This version adds more depth and practical insights into how overthinking can affect different aspects of life, while also giving the audience a sense of empowerment to take action. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments. Chapter 2. Breaking the Thought Loop. How awareness is your superpower. One of the most powerful tools you have to stop overthinking is simply becoming aware of when it's happening. Awareness is like a light that shines on the dark corners of your mind, revealing where the mental traps lie. Once you become conscious of the overthinking cycle, you can take intentional steps to interrupt it before it takes over. Overthinking often starts with a single thought. You might worry about a small mistake, a decision you made, or an upcoming event. And before you know it, your mind is spiraling. That one thought turns into a series of imagined worst-case scenarios. You may start playing out conversations in your head, reliving past situations, or picturing things going terribly wrong. What was once a simple concern becomes a full-blown mental crisis, all within a matter of minutes. The key to breaking this cycle is catching it early. The moment you notice that your mind is beginning to race or repeat the same anxious thoughts, take a mental step back. This pause is where the magic happens. Instead of allowing your thoughts to continue running wild, take a deep breath and say to yourself, "I'm overthinking right now, and I can stop this." This is your first act of control, acknowledging that the spiral is happening and choosing to take a different path. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need to take action. Once you're aware of the loop, shift your attention to something else. Engage in an activity that requires focus, like reading, solving a puzzle, or even getting active with some exercise. The more you practice redirecting your attention, the easier it becomes to break the cycle of overthinking. Another helpful technique is keeping a thought journal. When you catch yourself overthinking, write down what's happening. What thought started the cycle? What are you imagining will happen in the future? By externalizing the thoughts on paper, you create some distance between you and the overthinking, which can help you gain perspective. It's also important to recognize the physical signals that accompany overthinking. Many people don't realize that their body gives off cues: tightness in the chest, shallow breathing, or restlessness. Learning to tune into these signals can help you catch yourself earlier and break the cycle before it takes hold. The more in tune you are with both your mind and body, the quicker you can act to stop overthinking in its tracks. Breaking the thought loop isn't about eliminating your worries entirely. It's about regaining control over how much space those worries occupy in your mind. By practicing awareness and redirecting your focus, you empower yourself to choose your thoughts and ultimately stop overthinking before it derails your mental peace. This version deepens the focus on awareness as a tool to break overthinking and provides more specific, actionable steps your audience can take to begin implementing this in their own lives. Let me know if you want to further refine any part of it. Chapter 3. Mastering your thoughts. Reframe, redirect, and regain control. Overthinking often feeds on negative thought patterns. These patterns become so ingrained that we begin to assume the worst without realizing it. For example, if you're facing a challenging situation, your first thought might be, "I'm going to fail," or "This will never work out." Over time, these thoughts start to shape your reality, limiting your potential and keeping you stuck in a cycle of fear and uncertainty. The good news? You can break this cycle by learning how to reframe and redirect your thoughts. Reframing is one of the most powerful tools to regain control of your mind. It involves changing the way you look at a situation, turning a negative or fearful thought into a more positive or constructive one. Instead of catastrophizing, you begin to focus on solutions and possibilities. Take, for example, a situation where you've made a mistake at work. An overthinking response might be, "I've messed everything up. I'll get fired and disappoint everyone." This thought feeds into anxiety and a lack of confidence. Reframing this could look like, "I made a mistake, but it's an opportunity to learn and grow. I can fix this and do better next time." This shift in perspective changes the energy you bring to the situation, empowering you to take action rather than retreating into fear. One of the most important elements of reframing is recognizing the difference between facts and interpretations. The book highlights how overthinking often distorts our perception. For example, you might think, "Everyone is judging me right now," but in reality, people are likely focused on their own lives. Reframing this thought might sound like, "It's possible that others are focused on themselves, just like I am. I don't need to assume what they think of me." By separating facts from assumptions, you start to release the power of negative thoughts and replace them with more accurate, less stressful interpretations. Redirecting your thoughts is another powerful technique. When you catch yourself in the midst of overthinking, you don't have to stay stuck. The key is to shift your attention. Redirecting can be as simple as engaging in a new activity that demands focus, like reading a book, going for a walk, or solving a problem. Sometimes, doing something physical, like stretching or taking a few deep breaths, can help to break the mental cycle. This redirection creates a mental pause, which allows your mind to reset and prevents overthinking from spiraling out of control. One way to make this redirection even more effective is to ask yourself a powerful question when you catch yourself overthinking. What is the next step I can take to move forward? This question instantly shifts your mind from a place of worry to a place of action. It's no longer about what might happen, but what you can do right now to make progress. Even if it's a small step, taking action provides clarity and can significantly reduce anxiety. Another technique you can use is visualization. When you feel yourself spiraling, take a moment to close your eyes and visualize a positive outcome. Picture yourself succeeding, solving the problem, or handling the situation with ease. Visualization helps break the cycle of negative thinking by reprogramming your mind to expect success instead of failure. Mastering your thoughts isn't about controlling every single thought that enters your mind. It's about becoming more aware of how your thoughts influence your emotions and actions. Reframing and redirecting allow you to regain control over your mental state, giving you the power to choose what you focus on. When you practice these techniques consistently, you train your brain to stop overthinking and start taking confident, empowered actions. This expanded version emphasizes the importance of reframing and redirecting thoughts, offering clear examples and actionable strategies to break free from negative thought patterns. Let me know if you need further refinements or adjustments. Chapter 4. The Power of Mindfulness. Grounding yourself in the present. Overthinking often pulls us away from the present moment. Our minds drift into the past or the future, rehashing old conversations or worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. This disconnection from the present moment is one of the key reasons overthinking takes hold in the first place. The more we get lost in our thoughts, the more detached we become from reality, which leads to stress, anxiety, and confusion. The book highlights mindfulness as one of the most effective practices to combat overthinking. Mindfulness isn't about silencing your mind or forcing yourself to stop thinking. It's about observing your thoughts without judgment and bringing your focus back to the present. This practice helps you detach from the mental chatter and instead focus on what's happening around you right now. One simple way to practice mindfulness is through breathing exercises. When you find yourself overthinking, take a few deep, deliberate breaths. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, hold for a moment, and then exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. Repeat this process for a few minutes. Focusing on your breath draws your attention away from your thoughts and anchors you in the present moment. Mindfulness also involves paying attention to your body. Often, when we're trapped in overthinking, we don't notice how our body responds. Tension builds in our shoulders, our chest tightens, and our breath becomes shallow. By checking in with your body, you can bring awareness to these physical signs and release the tension before it escalates. Try a quick body scan. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and slowly scan through each part of your body, noticing any areas of tightness or discomfort. This simple exercise helps you ground yourself in the here and now, preventing your mind from spiraling further. Another mindfulness practice is sensory grounding. This involves engaging your five senses to bring you back to the present moment. For example, if you're in a stressful situation and you start to overthink, try to focus on something you can see, perhaps the colors around you or the textures of objects in the room. Notice the sound of your breath, the warmth of the air, or the feeling of your feet on the ground. This type of sensory awareness immediately shifts your focus from your racing thoughts to your surroundings, which can help you break free from the overthinking cycle. The book emphasizes the importance of acceptance in mindfulness. When you're overthinking, you might feel frustrated with yourself for letting your mind wander, but instead of judging yourself for overthinking, practice accepting the thoughts as they come. Acknowledge them without attaching judgment or emotion. This is a crucial aspect of mindfulness, recognizing that thoughts are just thoughts, not facts. They don't define you, and you don't need to act on them. The more you practice acceptance, the less power your thoughts will have over you. Mindfulness doesn't just stop at breathing exercises or body scans. It's about cultivating a mindset of presence and non-attachment to your thoughts. When you practice mindfulness, you create a space between yourself and your thoughts, where you can simply observe them without being swept away by them. This space gives you the freedom to choose which thoughts to engage with and which to let go of, allowing you to regain control over your mental state. Over time, mindfulness helps you become more aware of your habitual thought patterns. You'll begin to notice when your mind starts to overthink, and with practice, you'll be able to gently guide your focus back to the present moment before it spirals into a full-blown overthinking session. The beauty of mindfulness is that it can be practiced anywhere, at any time. You don't need special tools or equipment, just your awareness and your breath. Whether you're at work, in a stressful meeting, or at home, mindfulness gives you the ability to stay present, calm, and focused, no matter what thoughts are trying to pull you away. This version highlights the key aspects of mindfulness, such as breathing exercises, sensory grounding, and acceptance, and connects them directly to the goal of stopping overthinking. The strategies are broken down into easy-to-follow steps, with practical examples to help your audience implement them in their everyday lives. Let me know if you'd like to add or adjust anything. Chapter 5. Taking Small, Powerful Steps. How Action Conquers Anxiety. When you're caught in the grip of overthinking, one of the most paralyzing effects is your inability to take action. The more you think about something, the harder it feels to actually do it. Overthinking leads to procrastination, indecision, and a lack of progress. Every small task feels overwhelming, and the fear of failure looms large. The more you hesitate, the more you spiral, making it seem as though you'll never be able to move forward. This is where action becomes your secret weapon. The book stresses that when you're overwhelmed by your thoughts, the best way to break the cycle is to focus on taking action, even if it's just a tiny step. This approach shifts the focus from fear and uncertainty to doing something, anything, that propels you forward. Action doesn't require perfection, it requires movement. One of the first things to understand about overthinking is that it thrives when you stay stuck in your head. Your mind circles around the same worries, creating endless possibilities and what-ifs. But none of these thoughts bring you any closer to solving the problem. Action, on the other hand, forces you to step out of your mind and into the real world. By taking action, you break the cycle of rumination and replace it with progress. The book recommends starting with small, manageable steps instead of trying to tackle everything at once. Overthinking often occurs when we feel like we have to do everything perfectly or solve the entire problem immediately. This pressure is overwhelming and it keeps us frozen in place. However, when you break down a task or decision into small, achievable actions, the entire process becomes less intimidating. Let's say you're feeling anxious about a work project that seems too large to handle. Instead of thinking about the entire project at once, perhaps imagining all the ways it could go wrong, start by taking one small action. This could be as simple as writing down the first step you need to take or making a list of tasks. The moment you focus on completing the first step, you stop overthinking and replace that mental energy with tangible progress. Once that small action is completed, it builds momentum, making the next step feel more achievable. Another key concept the book emphasizes is the importance of momentum. Once you take the first step, the next step becomes easier, and then the next and the next. This process of building momentum makes even the biggest tasks seem less daunting. It's like pushing a boulder uphill. At first, it takes effort, but once you get it moving, it's much easier to keep it going. Each small action you take creates forward movement and gives you the confidence to tackle bigger challenges. Sometimes the hardest part is simply getting started. When we overthink, we put up mental barriers that prevent us from acting. This is why the book suggests using the 5-minute rule. Commit to working on something for just 5 minutes. This rule is powerful because it removes the pressure of completing a whole task. It focuses on the small action of just starting. Often, once you get going, you'll find that you're able to continue much longer than 5 minutes, and you'll be surprised at how quickly progress happens once you begin. Another way to approach action is by focusing on decisions instead of outcomes. Overthinkers often fear making the wrong decision, which causes them to second-guess themselves. However, focusing on making a decision, no matter how small, helps break the cycle of indecision and clears the mental fog. The book advises that instead of stressing over whether your choice is the perfect one, simply focus on making a decision that feels good in the moment. Action often leads to clarity, and once you've made a choice, you can adjust and adapt along the way. The key is to keep moving forward. In addition to small steps, self-compassion plays an essential role in taking action. It's easy to criticize yourself for not being perfect or for feeling anxious, but self-compassion allows you to move past your fears. Understand that you don't need to do everything perfectly, you just need to do something. Taking action is not about achieving flawless results. It's about making progress, no matter how small. When you treat yourself with kindness and allow room for mistakes, you remove the pressure that often holds you back from acting in the first place. This approach also applies to making decisions. Overthinking often makes us fear the potential consequences of a decision. What if you choose the wrong path? What if things don't turn out as expected? The truth is, no decision is ever guaranteed to be perfect. But by making small decisions and taking action based on them, you gain more confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Even if things don't go as planned, you learn from those experiences and become better equipped to handle future challenges. Finally, accountability can be a powerful motivator to take action. Share your goals and small steps with someone you trust, whether a friend, colleague, or mentor. Having someone to check in with helps you stay committed to your progress. When you feel accountable to someone else, it's easier to keep moving forward, even when doubts creep in. Taking small, powerful steps isn't just about tackling tasks. It's about changing the way you relate to your thoughts and emotions. When you move from overthinking to action, you reclaim your power. Action interrupts the cycle of doubt and anxiety, allowing you to focus on the process rather than the outcome. With each small step, you gain more confidence and build the momentum needed to break free from overthinking and embrace clarity and peace. This expanded version provides more depth and actionable strategies to help your audience understand how taking small, consistent steps can combat overthinking and lead to tangible progress. Let me know if you need more adjustments or additional information. Chapter 6. Cultivating Self-Compassion. Stop beating yourself up. Overthinking is often accompanied by self-criticism. We become so absorbed in our thoughts that we start blaming ourselves for everything, the things we've said, the choices we've made, and even the thoughts we're having. This constant self-judgment only feeds into the cycle of overthinking, creating more stress, guilt, and anxiety. It's a harsh and unrelenting inner dialogue that holds us back from moving forward and finding peace. The book highlights that one of the most powerful ways to stop overthinking is by practicing self-compassion. Instead of beating yourself up for having anxious thoughts or worrying about the future, self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness and understanding. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, everyone feels uncertain at times, and that it's okay to not have everything figured out. Self-compassion allows you to break free from the harsh inner critic and replace it with a voice of encouragement and support. When you're overthinking, it's easy to fall into the trap of shoulding yourself, telling yourself things like, "I should be doing better," "I shouldn't be feeling this way," or "I should have figured this out by now." These thoughts are not only unrealistic, but they also reinforce feelings of inadequacy and failure. The book emphasizes that the more you engage in should statements, the deeper you dig yourself into a hole of self-criticism. Instead of shoulding yourself, practice accepting where you are right now without judgment. Start by recognizing that it's okay to feel the way you do. Overthinking is often a sign of being overwhelmed or uncertain, but that doesn't make you weak or incapable. It simply makes you human. When you practice self-compassion, you give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling without trying to force yourself to feel differently. This act of self-acceptance opens the door for healing and growth. A key part of self-compassion is shifting from a mindset of self-criticism to one of self-kindness. Instead of tearing yourself down when you make a mistake or when you feel overwhelmed, treat yourself as you would treat a close friend. Would you criticize a friend for feeling anxious or making a mistake? Most likely not. You'd offer words of comfort and encouragement, reminding them that it's okay to stumble and that they're doing their best. The book suggests using this same compassionate voice with yourself. When you make a mistake or feel uncertain, talk to yourself with the same kindness and empathy that you would offer to someone you love. One way to practice self-compassion is by writing a letter to yourself as though you were a friend. When you're caught in the cycle of overthinking and self-criticism, take a moment to sit down and write a letter to yourself. Acknowledge your feelings without judgment and offer words of encouragement. Remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes, that you're doing the best you can, and that you deserve the same love and compassion you would offer to someone else. This exercise helps shift your perspective and builds a deeper connection with yourself, making it easier to let go of self-criticism. Another important element of self-compassion is practicing forgiveness. Overthinkers often hold on to past mistakes and regret. We replay our errors over and over again, thinking that by doing so, we can somehow fix them or make them right. But this only keeps us stuck in the past, preventing us from moving forward. Forgiving yourself means letting go of the past and releasing the weight of guilt. It's about acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and then allowing yourself the freedom to move on. The book also introduces the concept of mindful self-compassion, which involves incorporating mindfulness into your self-compassion practice. Mindfulness allows you to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, while self-compassion adds a layer of kindness and care. When you feel yourself spiraling into self-criticism or overthinking, practice bringing awareness to your thoughts without attaching negativity or blame. Simply observe what's happening in your mind and then offer yourself a gentle reminder. It's okay to feel this way. I'm allowed to be human. By practicing this form of mindfulness, you create a buffer between you and your overthinking, allowing you to respond to your thoughts with understanding rather than frustration. In addition, the book suggests using affirmations to reinforce your self-compassion practice. Positive affirmations help rewire your brain to focus on your strengths, your worth, and your ability to cope with challenges. When you're caught in the cycle of overthinking, affirmations can serve as a gentle reminder to be kind to yourself. Try repeating statements like, "I am doing my best and that's enough." "I am worthy of love and understanding," or "I am learning and growing every day." Over time, these affirmations can help shift your internal dialogue from one of criticism to one of acceptance and encouragement. Self-compassion is also about setting boundaries with yourself. It's about recognizing when you've been overly harsh or critical and gently redirecting your thoughts in a more positive direction. The book advises that you become mindful of your inner dialogue and make a conscious effort to replace negative self-talk with self-compassionate thoughts. Setting these mental boundaries creates space for healing and growth, allowing you to move away from overthinking and toward a healthier mindset. It's important to remember that practicing self-compassion is not about excusing poor behavior or avoiding growth. It's about treating yourself with kindness while acknowledging your flaws and imperfections. It's about recognizing that making mistakes is part of the human experience and that you are deserving of love and care, regardless of your shortcomings. The more you practice self-compassion, the easier it becomes to break free from the grip of overthinking. When you stop beating yourself up for your thoughts and feelings, you create space for peace and clarity. With self-compassion, you can face challenges head-on without the paralyzing fear or self-doubt that often comes with overthinking. This expanded chapter dives deeper into the practice of self-compassion and offers practical tools like writing a letter to yourself, practicing forgiveness, and using affirmations to help break the cycle of self-criticism and overthinking. Let me know if you'd like to refine any part of it. Chapter 7. Creating Space for Stillness. How Quietness Leads to Clarity. In a world filled with constant distractions, noise and pressure, finding stillness might feel like an impossible task. Our phones constantly buzz, social media demands our attention, and the never-ending stream of thoughts and worries fills our minds. This overwhelming environment of noise and busyness makes it nearly impossible to think clearly, let alone stop overthinking. Yet stillness is one of the most powerful antidotes to overthinking. The book emphasizes that by creating space for stillness, you give your mind the opportunity to reset, to process thoughts without the pressure of constant stimulation. When we are still, we are able to quiet the chaos in our minds and hear our inner voice more clearly. This moment of peace allows us to gain clarity, restore balance, and connect with our deeper sense of purpose and peace. Overthinking thrives on mental clutter. The more thoughts you try to juggle, the more fragmented your attention becomes. Your mind races from one thought to the next, never fully finishing or resolving any of them. Without a quiet space to pause and reflect, your mental energy is scattered, and overthinking only gets worse. But when you create a moment of stillness, even if just for a few minutes, You give your brain the break it needs to process information without being overwhelmed by endless input. One of the simplest ways to create stillness is through meditation. The book highlights meditation as a highly effective practice for quieting the mind and creating a sense of calm. Meditation doesn't require you to stop thinking entirely. It simply asks you to become an observer of your thoughts. You sit in a quiet space, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As thoughts arise, you acknowledge them without judgment, then let them go. Meditation teaches you to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. By practicing meditation regularly, you can train your mind to return to a state of stillness, even in the midst of chaos. Another helpful practice is mindful walking. This might sound simple, but walking with intention can create profound moments of stillness. As you walk, focus your attention on your surroundings, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sounds of nature, or the rhythm of your breath. Every step you take brings you further into the present moment, and the act of focusing solely on the physical experience of walking can help quiet the mental noise. Mindful walking allows you to step away from the overload of thoughts and focus on your body's movement and your immediate environment. It's a simple yet powerful practice for creating stillness. Journaling is another excellent way to create mental space. When your mind is cluttered with overthinking, writing down your thoughts can help clear the mental fog. The book recommends setting aside time each day to journal, particularly when you feel overwhelmed or trapped in your thoughts. By putting your thoughts on paper, you externalize them, which allows you to examine them from a more detached perspective. Writing helps you process emotions, work through problems, and clear mental space, leaving you with more room for clarity and insight. Even a few minutes of journaling each day can create a sense of stillness and peace. Stillness isn't only about sitting quietly, it's also about creating boundaries in your life to protect your mental space. In our hyper-connected world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the constant demands of others, whether through social media, work, or relationships. The book suggests setting aside intentional time for quiet and disconnecting from the digital world. This could be as simple as turning off your phone for an hour each day, or setting aside a quiet time in the evening where you don't engage with any outside distractions. By creating these boundaries, you give your mind the space it needs to rest and rejuvenate without the constant input of external noise. Another crucial element of stillness is learning to say no. We often take on more than we can handle, overloading ourselves with tasks, commitments, and social obligations. This constant busyness can leave us feeling mentally exhausted and disconnected from ourselves. The book encourages you to recognize the importance of setting limits and prioritizing what truly matters. By saying no to unnecessary commitments, you preserve your mental energy and create more space for stillness. This, in turn, allows you to focus on what's important and align your actions with your values. One of the most transformative aspects of stillness is that it helps you reconnect with your intuition. Overthinking often clouds your judgment and leads to second-guessing, but stillness provides the mental clarity needed to tap into your inner wisdom. When you create space to reflect quietly, you can better hear your intuition, which often guides you toward the right path. By practicing stillness, you tune in to the deep sense of knowing that resides within you, rather than relying on external noise or anxieties. Stillness is not about forcing yourself into silence or striving for perfection. It's about allowing your mind and body the opportunity to rest and reset. The book emphasizes that it's okay to take breaks, to step away from the constant grind, and to give yourself permission to be still. By embracing moments of stillness, you create the conditions necessary for mental clarity, emotional peace, and a deeper connection with yourself. The beauty of stillness is that it doesn't require anything complicated or time-consuming. You don't need to retreat to a remote cabin or dedicate hours of your day to meditation. The stillness you need can be found in the quiet moments of everyday life, whether you're taking a break from work, enjoying a cup of tea, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes each day. The key is to make stillness a regular practice and recognize its power to calm your mind and break the cycle of overthinking. When you make stillness a priority, you begin to experience the world in a different way. You become more aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs. You gain greater clarity about what matters most and how to move forward in life with purpose and direction. And most importantly, you stop the mental noise from hijacking your peace and well-being. This extended chapter provides a variety of actionable practices to help create stillness in your life, emphasizing its transformative power for gaining mental clarity and breaking the cycle of overthinking. Let me know if you'd like further refinements or adjustments. Chapter 8. Embracing Imperfection. How to let go of the fear of making mistakes. Overthinking often feeds on the fear of making mistakes. We become so afraid of failing or doing something wrong that we hesitate to take action, paralyze ourselves with doubt, or endlessly replay scenarios in our minds. This fear is rooted in the idea that perfection is the standard by which we should measure ourselves. The book emphasizes that perfectionism is one of the biggest obstacles to overcoming overthinking. It prevents us from moving forward, keeps us stuck in the cycle of anxiety, and blocks us from embracing the growth that comes with imperfection. The first step to letting go of this fear is realizing that perfection is an illusion. No one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, and those mistakes are not signs of failure. They are opportunities for learning and growth. When you shift your perspective and begin to see mistakes as valuable lessons rather than as sources of shame, the power of overthinking starts to diminish. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, you begin to focus on what you can learn from each experience, knowing that imperfection is part of being human. The book stresses the importance of embracing self-compassion when it comes to imperfection. When we make mistakes, our first instinct is often to criticize ourselves, to blame ourselves for not doing better. But self-compassion involves understanding that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process and that they do not define us. When you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, even in moments of failure, you create space for growth and improvement. Self-compassion helps release the harsh judgment that often accompanies overthinking, allowing you to move forward with confidence instead of fear. A key part of letting go of the fear of making mistakes is recognizing that perfectionism is often tied to a desire for external validation. Many people overthink because they want to be seen as capable, competent, or successful in the eyes of others. The pressure to live up to unrealistic standards of perfection can be overwhelming, leading to anxiety and indecision. The book encourages you to shift the focus from seeking approval from others to seeking approval from yourself. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me? When you align your actions with your values, rather than the expectations of others, you begin to realize that imperfection is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Another strategy for embracing imperfection is to practice letting go of control. Overthinkers often try to control every possible outcome, imagining how things will unfold and trying to predict the future. This need for control stems from the fear of making mistakes or not getting things right. However, control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and we can't control everything. The book emphasizes that the more we try to control the future, the more we hold ourselves back from taking action. By letting go of the need for certainty and allowing yourself to take risks, You free yourself from the paralysis of perfectionism. This doesn't mean being reckless. It means taking calculated risks, making decisions, and learning from whatever happens next. Reframing failure is another key concept the book explores. When you make a mistake, or something doesn't go as planned, overthinkers tend to internalize this as a personal failure. However, reframing failure means viewing mistakes as stepping stones to success. When something doesn't go right, rather than asking, "What did I do wrong?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Failure is not the end of the road. It's a detour, a redirection towards something better. Every mistake offers a lesson, and each lesson gets you one step closer to growth and mastery. Reframing failure this way takes the sting out of mistakes and allows you to embrace them with curiosity, not fear. The book also recommends setting realistic expectations for yourself. Overthinkers often set impossibly high standards, believing that if they're not perfect, they're not good enough. This kind of thinking sets you up for frustration and disappointment, as perfection is an unattainable goal. Instead of striving for perfection, aim for progress. Focus on improving little by little and acknowledge your achievements, no matter how small. Realize that every step forward is a victory. When you stop expecting perfection, you give yourself permission to make mistakes and learn from them, knowing that they're part of the journey. Another key practice is to adopt a growth mindset. The book highlights that those with a growth mindset believe that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities to grow, not as threats to their sense of self-worth. This mindset helps reduce the fear of making mistakes, because you understand that mistakes are an essential part of the learning process. When you shift from a fixed mindset, where you believe your abilities are set in stone, to a growth mindset, where you see every experience as an opportunity to learn, you begin to embrace imperfection and let go of the fear of failure. The book also suggests surrounding yourself with supportive people who encourage you to embrace imperfection. Having a strong support system is crucial in letting go of the fear of making mistakes. When you're surrounded by people who value progress over perfection, who embrace learning over judging, you start to see the value in imperfection. The fear of judgment diminishes, and you feel empowered to take risks and make mistakes without the pressure of needing to be perfect. Surrounding yourself with others who embrace growth and imperfection helps reinforce your own journey. Celebrate the journey, not just the destination. Overthinkers often get so caught up in the need to achieve the perfect result that they forget to enjoy the process. The book emphasizes that life is about the experiences we have, the lessons we learn, and the people we meet along the way. Celebrate each step you take, no matter how small, and honor the progress you make. Life isn't about being perfect. It's about growing, evolving, and embracing who you are, flaws and all. When you focus on the journey rather than the destination, you let go of the need for perfection and open yourself to the beauty of imperfection. This expanded chapter provides deep insight into how perfectionism and the fear of making mistakes contribute to overthinking and offers actionable strategies to embrace imperfection, build self-compassion, and adopt a growth mindset. It offers a comprehensive approach to freeing yourself from the fear of failure and moving forward with confidence. Let me know if you'd like any further revisions or additional details. Chapter 8. Embracing Imperfection: How to Let Go of the Fear of Making Mistakes. Overthinking often thrives in the space of perfectionism. We become consumed by the fear of making mistakes, so much so that we hesitate to take action at all. The fear of failure can keep us stuck, replaying every scenario in our minds, worrying about what could go wrong. We become obsessed with getting everything just right, Yet perfection is often an unattainable goal. The book stresses that perfectionism is one of the greatest obstacles to overcoming overthinking, and that the path to mental clarity begins with embracing imperfection. The first step to letting go of the fear of making mistakes is recognizing that perfection is a myth. No one can be perfect. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life and growth, and they're not something to be ashamed of. They are opportunities for learning, for growth, and for improving our approach to challenges. When we start seeing mistakes not as failures, but as chances to learn, we begin to free ourselves from the heavy weight of overthinking. Perfectionism keeps us in a state of constant anxiety, where we're afraid to take the next step because we fear it will be wrong. The truth is, even if something doesn't go as planned, we still learn from the experience, and that is the real success. The book emphasizes the importance of practicing self-compassion when it comes to imperfection. Overthinkers often struggle with harsh self-criticism, especially when things don't go according to plan. We beat ourselves up for making mistakes, replaying the event over and over in our minds, wondering how we could have done things differently. But practicing self-compassion involves acknowledging that we're human and that making mistakes doesn't make us less valuable or capable. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would show to a close friend. When we can be gentle with ourselves, we create space for healing, learning, and growth instead of staying stuck in guilt and regret. Another key aspect of letting go of the fear of making mistakes is challenging the need for control. Overthinkers often try to control every outcome, fearing that if they don't micromanage every detail, things will go wrong. However, life is full of uncertainty, and trying to control every aspect only increases anxiety. The book encourages us to accept that some things are beyond our control, and that we can't predict every outcome. Trying to control everything often leaves us paralyzed, unable to move forward. The act of letting go, releasing the need to control every single variable, can be incredibly freeing. It allows us to take risks, make decisions, and learn from whatever happens next, without the pressure of perfection. In addition, the book highlights the importance of reframing failure. Overthinkers often view failure as a personal flaw, as a reflection of their inadequacy. But failure, when viewed through a different lens, can be a powerful tool for growth. Reframing failure involves seeing it not as a setback, but as a learning opportunity. When we make a mistake, instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" we can ask, "What can I learn from this experience?" This shift in mindset helps us break free from the paralysis of overthinking and empowers us to take action, knowing that mistakes are not the end, but part of the journey. The book also introduces the concept of self-validation, which is crucial for overcoming the fear of making mistakes. Overthinkers often seek validation from others, wanting reassurance that we're doing things right, that we're good enough. But relying on external validation for our worth can be exhausting and unfulfilling. The book suggests that the real key to overcoming the fear of making mistakes is learning to validate ourselves. This means recognizing our own worth, regardless of whether we're perfect or whether others approve of our actions. Self-validation allows us to embrace our imperfection without the need for constant approval from others, freeing us from the cycle of overthinking and self-doubt. Another important practice is setting realistic expectations for ourselves. Perfectionism often involves setting impossibly high standards, expecting ourselves to perform flawlessly in every area of life. This creates a constant state of pressure, which only fuels overthinking. The book advises that we should aim for progress, not perfection. When we accept that we don't need to do everything perfectly, we give ourselves permission to make mistakes and learn from them. Instead of focusing on achieving flawless results, we should focus on continuous improvement, one step at a time. By setting realistic expectations and celebrating small wins, we take the pressure off ourselves and move away from perfectionism. The book also advocates for developing a growth mindset. People with a growth mindset understand that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, persistence, and learning. They see challenges as opportunities to grow rather than as threats to their self-worth. When you adopt a growth mindset, the fear of making mistakes diminishes because you know that mistakes are part of the learning process. You understand that each failure brings you closer to mastery, and you're not defined by your mistakes. Instead of avoiding challenges, you embrace them as opportunities to expand your knowledge and skills. This mindset encourages you to take risks, to try new things, and to learn from every experience. The book suggests that embracing imperfection can also be achieved through creative expression. When you allow yourself to be creative without the pressure of perfection, you begin to release the grip that overthinking has on your mind. Whether it's through art, writing, music, or any other form of self-expression, creativity allows you to explore, experiment, and make mistakes without judgment. The process of creating something imperfectly can be incredibly freeing. It teaches you that it's okay to be messy, to be vulnerable, and to make mistakes along the way. Creativity is a wonderful tool for embracing imperfection and letting go of the need for perfection. Another powerful tool for letting go of the fear of mistakes is mindful acceptance. Instead of resisting imperfection, the book encourages you to accept it fully. Mindful acceptance means acknowledging that mistakes are part of the human experience and that you can be at peace with them. It's about letting go of the need to control every aspect of life and embracing the flow of life as it comes. When you accept that things won't always go as planned and that imperfection is natural, you stop fearing mistakes and start embracing them as valuable lessons. Overthinkers often focus so much on the end result that they forget to enjoy the journey. The process of learning, growing, and evolving is just as important as the final achievement. By focusing on the journey, rather than obsessing over the destination, you create space for joy, creativity, and exploration. You embrace imperfection and understand that each step, no matter how small or messy, is part of the beautiful, imperfect path of life. This extended chapter provides deep insights into how perfectionism and the fear of making mistakes contribute to overthinking and offers practical strategies to embrace imperfection, self-compassion, and a growth mindset. It encourages your audience to let go of the need for perfection and focus on learning, growth, and progress. Let me know if you'd like any further revisions or additions. Chapter 8. Embracing Imperfection. How to let go of the fear of making mistakes. Overthinking and perfectionism are often closely intertwined. We fear making mistakes so much that we get caught in endless loops of mental chatter, obsessing over every little detail. This constant worry about not being good enough, not being perfect, or not measuring up leads to paralysis. Instead of moving forward, we stay stuck, ruminating on every possible outcome and questioning every decision. However, as the book highlights, the key to breaking free from overthinking lies in embracing imperfection and letting go of the fear of making mistakes. One of the first steps in overcoming the fear of mistakes is changing your relationship with failure. So often, we equate making a mistake with being a failure. However, mistakes are simply part of the process of growth and learning. The book encourages you to reframe your perception of failure. Instead of seeing it as a negative or something to be ashamed of, see it as an opportunity to improve and evolve. Failure isn't a permanent mark on your character. It's a temporary setback that provides valuable lessons. By shifting your perspective in this way, You free yourself from the anxiety and fear of making mistakes. Another crucial aspect of embracing imperfection is self-compassion. Overthinkers often have harsh inner critics that are quick to judge, belittle, and criticize. When we make mistakes, this critical voice gets even louder, telling us that we're not good enough or that we should have done better. But practicing self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that you would offer to a friend. When you make a mistake, instead of criticizing yourself, show yourself empathy. Acknowledge that everyone makes mistakes and that you're no less worthy because of them. Self-compassion creates a supportive environment where mistakes can be seen as opportunities to learn rather than things to fear. The book also delves into the concept of perfectionism, a belief that we must achieve flawless results at all costs. Perfectionism often paralyzes us, keeping us stuck in an endless cycle of overthinking. The fear of making mistakes holds us back from taking risks, trying new things, or making decisions. Perfectionism can be exhausting and counterproductive because it places unrealistic demands on us. Rather than striving for perfection, the book urges us to aim for progress instead. Each step, no matter how small, is a victory. Rather than obsessing over achieving flawless outcomes, focus on improving over time. Celebrate progress, no matter how imperfect it may seem, and acknowledge the growth that happens along the way. One of the best ways to challenge perfectionism is through the practice of setting realistic expectations. Many overthinkers set impossibly high standards for themselves, believing that anything less than perfect is a failure. These unrealistic expectations create an overwhelming amount of pressure, which only fuels the cycle of overthinking. The book suggests setting achievable, realistic goals that allow for growth and flexibility. It's important to remember that you don't need to get everything right every time. Progress is built on small, consistent steps, and those steps often involve making mistakes and learning from them. By adjusting your expectations to be more realistic, you take off the pressure of perfection and open yourself up to the possibility of success, even in imperfection. A key tool the book provides for embracing imperfection is mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to observe your thoughts without judgment, which is incredibly helpful for letting go of the fear of mistakes. When you practice mindfulness, you can observe when your mind starts to spiral into worry or when you begin to judge yourself for making a mistake. Rather than reacting with self-criticism, mindfulness helps you stay present and accept the imperfection of the moment. You become aware of your thoughts without getting caught up in them, allowing you to break free from the cycle of overthinking. With mindfulness, you can approach mistakes with curiosity instead of fear, viewing them as part of the journey, not as obstacles. The book also stresses the importance of letting go of control. Overthinkers often try to control every aspect of a situation, fearing that if they don't, something will go wrong. This need for control can make us anxious and prevent us from taking risks or making decisions. The truth is, there will always be elements of life that are beyond our control, and that's okay. When you let go of the need to control every detail, you free yourself from the paralyzing fear of making mistakes. The book advises focusing on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your response to challenges, and letting go of the rest. This release of control allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing that mistakes are just part of the learning process. Reframing is another powerful tool discussed in the book. When you make a mistake, it's easy to slip into negative self-talk and get caught up in feelings of inadequacy. But reframing allows you to change the story you're telling yourself. Instead of thinking, "I messed up, I'm a failure," you can reframe it as, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from this. This is a chance to grow." By changing the narrative around mistakes, you empower yourself to move beyond the fear and use mistakes as stepping stones toward success. Reframing helps you shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, where mistakes are seen as opportunities rather than threats. The book also emphasizes the importance of taking action, even in the face of imperfection. Overthinking can keep you paralyzed in indecision, but the key to breaking free is to take small steps forward, even if they aren't perfect. Often, overthinkers get stuck in the planning phase, trying to figure out the perfect solution before taking any action. The book advises that the best way to overcome this is to simply start. Take the next step, even if you're not sure it will be flawless. By taking action, you move beyond overthinking and build momentum that helps you learn, adapt, and grow. Mistakes are inevitable, but they provide valuable feedback that can guide you on your path forward. The book recommends celebrating imperfection as a practice of gratitude. Every mistake is a chance to learn. Every failure is an opportunity to grow. By celebrating these moments, you shift your perspective from one of fear to one of gratitude. You begin to see imperfection not as something to be avoided, but as a natural part of the human experience. Gratitude for your mistakes encourages you to take risks, make decisions, and embrace the uncertainty that comes with them. When you focus on what you can learn from imperfection, you create a mindset that embraces the fullness of life, both the successes and the setbacks, and you free yourself from the grip of overthinking. This expanded version provides a thorough exploration of how to embrace imperfection, challenge perfectionism, and break free from the fear of mistakes. It includes practical strategies for self-compassion, reframing, letting go of control, and taking action, helping your audience understand that mistakes are part of growth and learning, not things to fear. Let me know if you need any further adjustments or additions. Chapter 9. Cultivating Patience, the key to overcoming the urge to rush. In today's fast-paced world, there's a constant pressure to move quickly, achieve results immediately, and keep up with the pace of everyone around us. Overthinking often arises from this rush, a fear of falling behind, of missing opportunities, or of not being good enough compared to others. This pressure to hurry can leave us feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and constantly on edge. The book emphasizes that one of the most effective ways to overcome overthinking is to cultivate patience, not just with others, but with ourselves. By slowing down and practicing patience, we can find clarity, reduce stress, and make better, more thoughtful decisions. Patience is often misunderstood as simply waiting for something to happen. However, true patience involves mindfully accepting the present moment without rushing toward the next goal or outcome. It's about understanding that everything has its own time and that not everything needs to be done in a hurry. When we're patient with ourselves, we allow space for mistakes, growth, and self-compassion, instead of forcing ourselves to achieve perfection or meet unrealistic deadlines. The book stresses that this type of patience is not passive, it's active engagement with the process of life, one moment at a time. One of the first steps to cultivating patience is reframing the idea of success. Society often defines success as achieving certain milestones quickly, graduating, getting a promotion, buying a house, or even reaching personal goals in record time. But the pressure to succeed quickly can be a breeding ground for overthinking. We begin to question whether we're on the right path or if we're falling behind. The book advises us to shift our perspective on success. True success isn't measured by how fast we get to a goal, but by how well we navigate the journey. Success is about growth, learning, and persistence, not about racing to an endpoint. By redefining success in terms of the process, not the outcome, we can release the urgency that often drives overthinking. Another powerful aspect of patience is the ability to accept uncertainty. Overthinkers often feel the need to have everything figured out, and when they don't, anxiety kicks in. We rush to find answers, to solve problems, and to plan for every possible outcome. But the truth is, life is full of uncertainty, and there will always be things beyond our control. The book emphasizes that cultivating patience allows us to sit with that uncertainty instead of trying to control it. By learning to tolerate discomfort and uncertainty, we can move away from the impulse to rush and instead adopt a more thoughtful, deliberate approach to decision-making. Patience teaches us that it's okay to not have all the answers right now, and that sometimes the best course of action is simply to wait, reflect, and allow the answers to come in their own time. The book also highlights the importance of slowing down in our daily lives. We live in an age where everything is designed to be fast: instant messaging, fast food, and quick fixes. But this constant rush creates an underlying sense of stress and impatience. To cultivate patience, we must learn to slow down intentionally. This might mean taking longer to complete tasks, allowing ourselves more time to think, or simply stepping away from the hustle and bustle. The book encourages practicing the art of delayed gratification, resisting the urge to rush through things for the sake of immediate results. By savoring the process, whether it's completing a project, having a conversation, or taking time to rest, we create space for clarity and reduce the anxiety that comes with rushing. One practical way to cultivate patience is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to focus on the present moment, rather than worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. Overthinkers often struggle with patience because they're either consumed by fear of what could go wrong or regret over past mistakes. Mindfulness allows us to be fully present in the moment, appreciating what is happening right now without the constant urge to rush ahead. Whether it's through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply paying attention to the sensations of daily activities, mindfulness helps us develop a sense of patience by anchoring us in the present. The book also suggests practicing self-compassion as part of cultivating patience. Overthinkers are often their own worst critics, pushing themselves too hard and expecting immediate results. We demand perfection from ourselves and become frustrated when we don't achieve it right away. Self-compassion involves acknowledging that it's okay to be imperfect and that growth takes time. When we practice self-compassion, we release the pressure to achieve everything quickly and allow ourselves the space to learn.
Friends, today we're going to talk about a topic that is both the truth and a reality people often choose to ignore. This is the real-life story of a trader. But before you sit back and dive into this journey, just do me a small favor. If you genuinely enjoy being part of this channel, give this video a like and only subscribe when you truly feel that something here has connected with you. Also, make sure to comment below and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. Alright, let's slowly begin this video.